Hi, I'm AJ Fisher. I'm the creator of the Hypoxix method and the breathography technique, and today we are going to talk brain plasticity, brain changes from specifically dancing and drumming. Now, some of you may know that I have a former career as a Broadway dancer. I felt and I also witnessed anecdotally the amazing brain changes in many of my clients when I was teaching them dance specifically as a workout. Now, later, now that I've gotten my bachelor's and master's in exercise science and I've really dove very, very, very deep into the research as to how and why this could be, I now am absolutely convinced that every exerciser in the world should be including some kind of motor coordination skill into their workouts to encourage brain plasticity. Now, there's a specific study that I was very motivated by recently. Now I'm going to quote a study that has inspired me to make this YouTube in the first place. I've been thinking about this for a while because I'm very passionate about the research behind dance and also behind drumming and the combination of the two that ignite certain pathways in the brain that enhance cortical thickness, cerebellar activity that allows us to strengthen our brain plasticity. Ultimately, brain plasticity is measured by looking at that cortical thickness over time, and we see this in drumming studies and we see this in dance studies. Now, let me actually refer to this drumming study. This was published in Scientific Reports, and this is called Drum Training Induces Long-term Plasticity in the Cerebellum and Connected Cortical Thickness. Now, the head author here is Bruchhage. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but please find that study and read it. It is absolutely fascinating. And as I was reading this study, because I definitely had this hypothesis many times before that drumming would induce similar changes in the brain that dance training would over time because of the challenges of those musical areas of the brain in combination with spatial awareness, and ultimately it boils down to multimodal exercise. We're getting the heart rate up, we're performing cardiovascular exercise in conjunction with challenging short-term memorization, reactive skills, and keeping in time with music. A lot of areas in the brain are cross-talking, and there's a lot of blood flow going back and forth. So here I actually want to read a couple of paragraphs from this study. Thank you so much, scientists, for studying this and allowing me to make this connection between drumming and dancing. So let me read this here. Several studies have shown that intense and prolonged motor activity induces significant changes in cerebellar structures. Both drumming and dancing cover an array of cerebellar functions, as it is coordinated exercise combining musicality, cardiovascular exercise, bilateral arm and leg movements, plus sensory motor integration processes. Drumming and dancing are unique activities that challenge the brain to synchronize extremities with a specific timing, tempo, frequency, and intensity. And I modified that last line a little because I wanted to make the point that drumming and dancing have a lot in common. I could have just been describing dance to you. And many studies have shown that there is improved cortical thickness through MRI imaging and spatial awareness and all the things that we see in these drumming studies. In fact, there have been many drumming studies that look at ADHD, autism, cognitive decline, and look at those areas in the brain that are improved, specifically neuroplasticity, but also attention, inhibitory control, the areas that are challenged in those who suffer with ADHD and autism. And so dance studies have also come to similar conclusions. So you see where I'm going here. Drumming and dancing have a lot in common. The arms have to move in a certain pattern. The legs have to move in a certain pattern. We need a short-term memory. We need to hold something in our memory while we perform that pattern. Sometimes we need to react, or we mess up a little, we need to react. And so we're constantly going back and forth between several areas of the brain. Now, other improvements that we've seen with both dance and drumming studies. I want to list these because this is really impressive. So we have improved navigation and spatial awareness. That has a lot to do with that cerebellar activity, and I'm going to go more into the specifics as to why that would be. Improvements in dementia, with improvements in areas of the brain like amyloid beta plaque. And this is really fascinating with the dance research. There's actually been a lot of dance research in Alzheimer's and dementia patients and looking at the improvements in their brain over time when combining light cardiovascular exercise with learned patterns like ballroom dancing. Really, really amazing. And of course, we have the improved attentional control, as I spoke about, and also the improvements in that cerebellar activity, which is representative of that neuroplastic change. Now, it's interesting because there's a specific area of the brain called the precuneus, Now, this area is highly activated in both dancing and drumming. Now, why is that? Well, ultimately, the precuneus, and I'm actually going to refer to my notes here because I am not a neuroscientist and I am making these connections as an artist. I was a Broadway dancer, now I'm an exercise scientist. Now, the precuneus, it specializes in translating visuospatial and temporal information into motor coordinates, especially that of sequential movements with reference to memorized patterns. Now, I could be describing drumming, I could be describing dancing, I could be describing marching band. My husband, he's a trombone player. He was definitely in marching band. Oh, yes, he was in band camp. And when he's marching around and he's keeping his footwork in time with the trombone playing, think about the changes in white and gray matter and that cortical thickness. Ultimately, that is the changes in the white and gray matter. Neuroscientists, please don't cut me down. I know I'm probably messing some of this up, but again, I'm an artist and I'm putting this all together and I'm just excited about it because my method is igniting all of these areas. And this is what I'm going to get to. What I'm going to get to is that you have to integrate these patterns into your daily routine to prevent cognitive decline. And so there really are so many things that could activate the precuneus. It's absolutely incredible. And I think when we're younger and we're learning an instrument and we're walking around the room while learning an instrument, yet when we're older, we don't have as many opportunities to combine getting the heart rate up, that light cardiovascular activity. And this study did emphasize cardiovascular activity of the drummers because drumming is extremely cardiovascular. You're working the arms like crazy, you're working the feet on those bass pedals, and you're memorizing those patterns. And of course, dancing, you're working the extremities, right and left side. You're getting the heart rate up for sure, and you're focused on those short-term memorized patterns. So there really aren't, and you're staying in time with music. So all of that is key to work all of those areas of the brain to contribute to those neuroplastic changes. And so, earlier in life, yeah, if you were in marching band or, you were a dancer or you did twirling or cheerleading or anything like that, you're going to experience that. But when we get older, when we really need to perform the anti-aging activities that are going to help reduce cognitive decline, not only reduce cognitive decline, but move forward and get smarter and be able to have higher learning potential. This is what's exciting to me. Then this is when we really need to be performing those activities. But who has the time to, and who can? Are there any masters marching bands? There probably are. But not many of us are marching in a band. Not many of us are professionally drumming, and not many of us are dancing. That's sad. Well, you know what I think you should do? I think that you should integrate neuroplastic work into your exercise routine. You have to exercise. You absolutely have to exercise minimum 3 times a week. But really, my preference is you get to it 5 or 6 days a week and give yourself a break here and there. It doesn't need to be too intense, but you just got to get that focus time. It could be 15 minutes, it could be 30 minutes. Some days it's longer, maybe it's 60. Try to stay away from performing too much exercise over 60 minutes as that can spike your stress hormones. We want to keep it focused. We want to work your muscles. We want to prevent muscle loss, enhance bone density, and prevent the aging of the brain. And so how are we going to do that? How do I do that with my clients and in my method? I connect the breath, my breathography method that now is empirically supported because we just finished our pilot study. Yay! You're going to publish next year. With patterns, with slightly complex patterns that make you have to hold something in your brain. Working on short-term memorization. So now we got the short-term memorization component. We got the heart rate component for sure. And we definitely got the multimodal component. What does that mean? Multimodal is just like a combination of a couple of different components of exercise. So it could be balance and working the arms and the legs at the same time. Compound movements will do that. But you don't necessarily get into a neuroplastic place if you're like, okay, I'm doing my 3 sets of 12 bicep curls, I'm doing my 5 sets of 5 whatever lunges, and knowing what's coming next is so easy to tune out because you don't have to focus. those aren't the exercises that are going to enhance your brain and contribute to neuroplastic changes. What you need to put into your exercise program is something that kind of keeps you a little on edge, keeps you on your toes, and forces you to stay focused. Now, I like that. I would rather you perform a slightly shorter exercise routine and force your attentional control, your attention to stay high, by performing certain patterns, maybe even working your reactive skills a little bit, by combining the breath work. So we're inhaling for 2, we're exhaling for 8, in combination with the lunge, the squat, some foot agility, maybe even a little dancing. I fear to call it dancing because sometimes that does scare people away. So, we're basically performing like shadow boxing for cardio and some foot agility drills, but I use my background as a dancer to make it fun. And combining that with the breath work. So you're like, okay, I'm inhaling for 2 and then I'm exhaling for 8 punches. Okay. And like if you lose attention for 1 moment, you're going to mess up, and that's okay, but that's direct feedback that you've lost attention and you're working on your neuroplasticity. Now, additionally, I will add certain footwork, or maybe I'm warming up with a client on the treadmill and I'm like, okay, we're walking and your pattern is 11-7, 11-4. What does that mean? You punch the weights to the side on 11, you punch it on 4, you punch it on 11, you punch it on whatever the last number is. See, I need to work on, I'm jet lagged actually. I'm in Greece right now with some clients. It's super, super fun, but if I look a little jet lagged and sound a little jet lagged, I'm 7 hours ahead of New York, so it's a little crazy. Anyway, tangent. So bringing it back, choose an exercise modality that keeps you on your toes, because I want you to prevent that brain decline as much as you're preventing that muscle and that bone decline. All the things decline, sadly, after the age of 30, so we got to work on it. I have felt my cognition certainly enhanced since I've been consistently working on my breath work, because we know that breath work in itself, especially in combination with exercise, enhances your cognition for many reasons. That's a million other YouTubes I've made, so I'm not going to go out and diverge on a tangent. But now, adding in those patterns, slightly complex, that keep you on your toes, you're going to have a brain of steel, and I'm so proud of you because I can feel you thinking about doing it. So anyway, please join my free community, hypoxix.fitness. That's hypoxix.fitness. That's where we come together, you ask questions, I answer them. I'm very interactive in the community. And then on there, you will see what your potential next steps could be. You could join me in the studio. That's where I perform live classes, and all of the 8-week cycles of Hypoxix workouts are on there, where I combine attentional control, reactive skills, cognition cardio with breath work, my breathing technique, breathography, with the strength, the core, the mobility, and the cardio protocols. So combine your breath, your brain, and your body, and come on, work out with me. I know you want to. I want you to strengthen your brain. And if you are a trainer and you're interested in using and getting those continuing education units, take my course, The Breathing Core. That's also on hypoxix.fitness. And you can use that for NASM, NSCA, AFAA, ACE, all the big ones. You're probably certified in one of those. And you can learn how to integrate your breathing with your core and teach that to your clients. Okay, that's it for today, and I am going to make a video that is a sequel to this one where I show you how to combine your breath work with some cognition cardio, challenging your brain and keeping you on your toes. Bye-bye.